Hi, team. Welcome to another week. We are finding joy on the journey with Nicole as we really just go through how to win well-being. So, Nicole, thank you for being here for us, sharing your journey, your vulnerability, your truth, your just everything that you're going through in this next 10 weeks. We greatly appreciate you just sharing it with us.
Oh, I know. We're always real. It's always raw and real. So it's good. So it's my pleasure. It's good for me too, by the way.
Yeah, so this week's desired outcome is that we want to share really the power of rest and recovery from tired to transformation, everything to do with taking those holidays and maximizing. And we know sometimes as women or as executives, we don't give ourselves the benefit of really honoring rest and recovery. So I know that last week you were on holiday. Let's watch your film. What did you
hmm
learn?
So last week I was on holiday, and I did a pretty poor job of it, which is what I learned. So I had a deadline that I had to accomplish for my professional life, and it coincided with my boss's vacation. So I had to make sure it got done. I did not get it done before I left, which I probably could have. So that was the first thing. Like I should have planned a little bit better. But then because I had a deliverable due, I engaged every day and I didn't disengage because I was constantly checking in on the process and where we were. And I wasn't really able to detach until, and this is typical for me, until Friday. So here you go the whole week, you're supposed to be on holiday, and I detach on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then go right back into the grind on Monday. So I think really reflecting back on it, I'm like, shoot, right? If I would have planned a little bit better, and again, this is me getting me back into old habits, Carlette. My old habit self would be like, push, 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 I'll get to it like, right at the close to the deadline. And what I'm finding is like, that's not optimal anymore. And I really need that rest and recovery, especially now more than ever. This is supposed to be my big rest and recovery time in the month of July. And I kind of, I didn't do a great job. So a little bit of learning there. We're always
Welcome
learning.
to life, right? Human to human, that just
Yeah.
showing
Yeah.
up and living our
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Pretty much. And, you get frustrated because then I got frustrated because I looked back and thought, well, shoot, if I would have gotten that done, I could have actually disengaged for that week. And my boss is on holiday this week and he's totally disengaged. And he's really giving a ton of freedom to, myself and others that are in the organization, like go run the business for the week. I don't need to be there. I need this time to rest. So that gave me a lot of reflection, realizing that I can do this and I need to do this and I need to plan for it and I need to own it. So yeah, take it.
Nothing like game film for all of us to learn from. So I just want to process that and do a bit of coaching with it because that's the gift you give us is that raw, real honesty from you is that an old muscle, which you articulated beautifully, that as soon as you got under stress, you reverted back to the way you usually do things, which are more of a hurried hustle kind of, let's get this done really close to deadline. And you have thrived off of that for a really long time, not intentionally, but more just because you're balancing being a mom, working, like there's so many things that you've chosen that are part of your life that constant juggling and if we can kind of chaos driven is actually what kept you motivated and going. And then COVID hit, you had an opportunity to really reset, to watch, and we've been going through that transformational change with you and watching you stretch yourself, change, and then we saw, stress happen and that muscle memory pop back up. What words of
Mm-hmm.
wisdom would you share?
Um, so the biggest thing for me is I don't like how it feels anymore. Before I used to be okay with how it felt. Like, okay, I got this check, got the task done, it doesn't matter when. And now that doesn't feel good anymore. It feels like maybe I made a mistake or maybe I was rushed or I could have done better. So I've done a lot of, I think, a year or so ago, Carlette, I would have been like, check, move on.
Mhm, yeah.
back, move on. And now I'm like, that felt crappy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good. I'm not giving my best self. We talked about competitive greatness last week. This isn't competitive greatness. This is just kind of practice, but not having a good practice, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So, it's just looking back, and that's the biggest transformation for me, is that it does, like, hard things are hard. And so making this transformation into getting beyond these hard things is uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And that when that uncomfortable feeling sets in, I'm really recognizing where it's coming from, rather than just checking the box and moving on and like, oh, I'll figure it out next month. So the biggest thing I'm learning from it is there has to be that action to change, like immediately. I don't want to do it again. And that's the difference. Doesn't feel good. So, and it's a disservice to everybody, myself and everybody else.
Well, so Nicole, what you're articulating is just that opportunity to live a champion life, which is that scale of 1 to 10, living in that 8, 9, or 10 zone. And as you referenced checking the box, that's more about 6 or 7, right? You're getting it done. It's just not at a level of excellence. And when we talk about your career, really going from manager to executive, this is what happens inside that training, that professional development, is if we keep trying to do what we've always done, we'll get the same result. And if we're going to be elevated and we're going to be advancing, we can't do the same thing because we need to be at a higher level. So your awareness of really just that ability that used to a 6 or 7 was okay with me because I had so much going on. Now I'm choosing to live in that 8, 9, or 10 zone, which means you'll have to make different choices, right? You don't just keep operating the same way and think you're going to go to a 10 level.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, because your muscle memory comes back in and says, here's what I need to do. And you have to stop yourself and get back into that, taking a couple of minutes to breathe and think, like, is that a 10 for me? No, it's actually not. Here's actually how I need to do it. And I really think what this is demonstrating is that this is hard to do, and it's a constant practice. So that's the thing, right? It's just because I did a really good job on Friday. Like, how about next time I have an entire week off, which is in 2 weeks or something like that? How about we shoot from Monday through Friday? But the change is now. The change is looking out 2 weeks and seeing what I have and being prepared to get that done in the next 2 weeks so that I can take that. That's the transformational thinking. That's the difference.
And also from performing to preparation, because performing means you're just getting things done. Check, 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 check. I got it. Preparation means that you're actually doing the work ahead of time to set yourself up for success. And what I really respect is that your actions, your awareness, your EQ from that perspective, your awareness of the way you're doing things, how it affects everybody else. So when you're living in that hurried or hassled or kind of, last minute mode, your team now has to respond based on getting things in that way. So what have you learned from that experience?
Yeah, and my team, just like anybody else's team, performs best when prepared, right? So you're coming in, if you're a leader or a coach or whatever you are, you're at your best when you're prepared. So if I'm not in that preparation mode and just responding, how can I expect my team to be in that situation? And then that rolls right into your personal life when you're supposed to be on holiday with your family and you can't be fully engaged with your family. And then I think that's the biggest frustrating thing, is like, I don't want that time wasted. Not wasted might not be a bad word, but like, you need to be fully engaged.
I was going to say full engagement. Yeah.
It's full engagement. And honestly, I will say those words to myself now probably 10 to 15 times a day, because we all know, like right now, I mean, you can't see me outside the screen, but I don't have my email up. I don't have my calendar up. I don't have my Teams chat up or my Gmail. None of that's up, because if that was up, I would be doing, this the whole time. instead of being fully engaged in our conversation. So, and we talked about that, you know, last week too, is I write things down all the time now. That's being fully engaged in this conversation and in this moment. So that, I think I crushed being chaotic for 15 to 18 years. Gone. Like, that's not optimal anymore, right? And that was a big lesson to learn in the transformation of leadership. But I think this message really, really goes to anyone. If I ask somebody on my team to do something, I expect them to take the time to prepare and do it the right way, rather than just instantaneously like send it to me and have it be wrong. Because if you get something and it's not right, then you have to go back and think about the time and the energy that's wasted in order to do that. You know, so take the extra couple minutes. I don't care where you are in your career or where you're at. Like, preparation is key.
Coach Wooden has a saying, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when will you have time to do it right again? And, you know, that's just that power of full engagement, is that I know that Nicole, you and I do a lot of work together, and we both serve and support a lot of people. And a winning strategy that we all use is, when you're talking or working with a team, pass something to me when it's a 10 for you. So just setting that standard means that everything I receive, I'm going to know that the person that sent it to me, this is their 10. They've thought about it. They've prepared. This is really their best work that I can add to, rather than them sending me a 6 or a 7. And then I start investing my energy into a 6 or a 7. And then we both started to create a lot of work back and forth. So it's that intentionality and that standard of excellence that's not only for me holding myself to a standard, me really engaging my team in the winning strategies of, let's all be a 10, let's all do our work. So when we pass work to someone, the person that receives it knows that it's a 10 for you.
Yeah, and I think everyone gets caught up in the hustle and bustle and the instantaneous information. I mean, we've had conversations about this. Social media is the worst. It's the best worst, right? When used for purpose, it's great, but that intentionality is really key. So, you know, yesterday is a great day of film. I had a number of client calls. They were very good, but they offered a ton of potential reaction. So I could have reacted instantaneously on each one of them. And I almost did, by the way.
Muscle memory, right? Rubber band theory, popping right back into what you usually do.
Like, I wanted to so badly. Like, I'm not kidding you. I had my phone. I had the text drafted, then hit delete. I tried to schedule a meeting and went, no, give yourself 24 hours, sleep on it, because it's a big decision.
Right.
It's a big strategy. Big strategies should not be implemented in a 5-minute emotional reaction to 2 phone calls. So, and sure enough, I heard back on something this morning, and I would not have made a great decision yesterday had I not had the extra information this morning. So, great real-time example of really being intentional for, you know, my clients and my team, rather than I could have blown so many things up yesterday in a bad way. Like, I could have spiraled so many people into different directions, and I would have done that a couple years ago into the chaos, but I didn't. So, hey, yeah, victory dance.
Yes, a victory dance, baby. Woohoo! Well, there's transformational change happening, and it all came from your mindset, right? Your awareness of how your actions affect so many other people. And that's what I want to focus on right now, is just that power of our relationships with ourselves and how we respond and trigger and treat other people. So what have you really learned that from, you know, just the way that you you would get hits from, and when we call that hits, it's basically an energy hit that, you know, when there was chaos, you got a lot of energy from that. And your coaching and awareness now is like, wait a minute, I want to get energy from the good things, not just all energy is the same energy.
oh, this one's hard and deep and all those things. And still working through that, right? Like, because my competitive mindset is go, 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 win, win, win. But through a lot of our training, it's really taken a step back and realizing that I can still win without being in that go, go, go mode. And you talked about, Carlette, the power of relationships. And so the difference that's the transformation and difference that's happening for me now is really stepping into the relationships that I have across the board and coming from it a way more of a, I've talked about this before, grace and love perspective. So first off, connecting at a more, maybe a personal level if it's comfortable, but connecting there first and foremost, and then going into, why are we having the conversation? If it's professional, I have to go into why I'm talking to the person too. But where I'm getting the hits though is through that power of the relationships in my life, which is different than what it was before. So, it's really bringing that love into it, right? Like connecting with people and giving hope and love and support to them, which is giving love and hope and support back to me.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
Well, and thank you for just sharing just the truth about how we're kind of wired a certain way and it's worked well for us. And then all of a sudden it's like, this isn't a 10 for me anymore. Like I'm not feeling or getting the same feeling from it. And I actually want something different. So what have you done to really be for you inside all of this change? Because with change comes anxiety, with change comes uncertainty. I mean, all the things that matter to all of us, meaning that we can kind of guarantee a win because we know how to do something. So what's happening for you?
So I think for me, this is a hard one to answer too, because it's part of this is just getting more comfortable with the uncomfortable and the transformation. So like for me personally, that's what's happening. And not getting sucked into the past memories and past like go, 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 like taking that couple of seconds to, have some time to myself, whether, whatever it is in the morning, like a morning ritual's changed, having more time dedicated to my family in specific ways, which is really important because that fills you back up with energy, and you as an I. So that really energizes me, right? Like, so, spending some time to, play with my daughter, which by the way, she's becoming more athletic than me. So this is becoming challenging, but whatever I can do.
You're on her support team.
Yeah, she's Louise. But I've noticed significantly in the last month that if I end my day work-wise, and then I go and take, I don't know, let's say 30 to 45 minutes and do something with my family, like all of a sudden I've shifted from wanting to go lay down, like seriously lay down exhausted, like I need a nap, to, okay, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to kind of like just digest the day. And then it's almost playtime. I say that kind of jokingly, but not.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that re-energizes me into my evenings, and I'm having fun with my family, and we're eating dinner, we're watching sports. We're a big sports family, so we eat all kinds of sports happening here. But that's something I've taken for granted and haven't really engaged in. So that's a winning strategy for me. So being able to really take this thing and put it down and go charge it, and then take this thing off and go do the same.
Yeah.
Don't let it run you.
No.
And just be that. And it comes back to full engagement, Carla. That's really what I'm learning. So, and it's hard.
And rest and recovery, because what's really important about rest and recovery is we all need it, but we don't know how to do it. And so what you talked about is it's normal for us to think rest and recovery means lay down, take a nap. Rest and recovery means I'm exhausted, like don't bother me. You just gave us great film of rest and recovery is actually what do you do, or who do you do things with that re-energizes you? So it's like you played fully
Mm-hmm.
engaged at work and you gave everything you had. And let's say at 6 o'clock, you transitioned from work into rest and recovery from your day, and you do it with the people you love, the family you love, the things that you love, and it actually
Mm-hmm.
energizes you. So instead of rest and recovery being, I'm
Mm-hmm.
exhausted from my day, let me lay down, it's, I'm exhausted from my day, let me have dinner with my family, let's watch sports, something that we love, let's have some great
Mm-hmm.
conversations, maybe, play some ball together if that's what you want. But notice that your full engagement from a family perspective is energizing, and that's rest and recovery.
Yeah, and I would never have put that into, my well-being category, right? Like a year ago, we would have been like, no, I'm going to go work out in the garage, or I'm going to go for a hike or a walk, or I'm going to run or whatever. It's not that. That was probably exhausting me even more in hindsight. And this is just, I don't know. It's a gift that living through a global pandemic has given us that we need to hold on to.
Yes, yes. The COVID gift. So let's
The
talk about
COVID
rest
gift.
and recovery, because as much as we all want it, it's a training. You have to be as intentional about your rest and recovery as you are about your performance and your preparation. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about being a champion for our well-being. And our well-being is this
Mm-hmm.
word everybody's using. And yet what we really value is, how do you do the things that people talk about? So if we talk about being a champion for our well-being, how do we do that? We don't want to just read about it. We want to
Mm-hmm.
experience it. So our model of sports life coaching is all about experiencing it. You don't talk about playing basketball. You pick up the ball, you go out, you connect with a team. So when we talk about being a champion for well-being, how have you been a champion for your well-being, really, with all the learning that you've gotten and the power of rest and recovery?
I think so. For well-being, for me, you have to be very self-aware and understand what works for you individually. And so what works for me individually, and then also your individual needs in terms of well-being will change with your seasons.
Mhm.
So what may work for, a particular season for me, August to December, might not work from January to March or whatever. So it's consciously being aware of what works for me and what doesn't. And well-being is well-being. That doesn't mean it should make you feel, and I've talked a lot about uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is making me get to the places that I need to get to. But well-being should make you feel good and energized. And there's so many different things that encompass well-being. So the biggest thing is, don't let it fall into a box. Don't say, I have to get 15,000 steps today. I have to, live to a certain diet. I need to make sure, I lift these certain weights. Like, that's not, if that works for you and that's a 10 for you, that's great. That's your well-being.
Yeah.
But what works for me, Nicole, and what works for you, Carlette, are very different.
Right.
And it's very individualized. It's very, very individualized, which is why you have to spend some time on yourself, which is really hard to do, and understand how and what shapes and makes up your well-being.
So Nicole, a huge
So for
winning
me,
strategy. Yeah, a huge winning strategy that you've brought up that is such, a 10 for me, is that well-being equals being well for you, according to whatever it is. And I so respect giving people the power, the knowledge, the understanding to be for you, and personalize this, like own how you want to rest and recover, what gives you great energy, own how you want to work professionally for optimum performance, own being intentional, be conscious, be present, like, enjoy just what you feel like. How does that make you feel? What do you like? What works? What doesn't work? It's a journey, which is why we're finding joy on the journey. It's an experience, and it's also training. Like, be intentional about, if it matters to you, make it a part of your life.
yeah, I was just laughing when you were talking about that, because I'm from a very rural town in Wisconsin, and my best friend is a farmer. So one of the things for me is, like, being around cows actually gives me a sense of peace. And a lot of people would be like, really? but hey, that works for me. Like being back how I grew up and going and seeing a cow, and they don't talk back. They're wonderful. They will kick. So don't get too close. But it's just kind of funny because that's kind of what I thought of. Like, you know, that's a winning strategy for me, that in my well-being is, you know, maybe go out to a farm, and you know, farms don't smell good, but to me they do. So, you know, to each his own. Just giving you a real life example.
Well, and Nicole, you're back home, which is another example of you asking for what you need and communicating what you need from a well-being perspective. So take us through that journey, because I know, you know, I've been on it with you for years, and your time back home in July has always been a 10 for you. And yet sometimes you've been able to have it, sometimes you haven't. What have you learned about just communicating your needs?
I was very nervous to ask for the ability to take time off, or the ability to work remotely. Like that had tons of anxiety around it. I spent weeks thinking about how to ask for it. I'm not kidding you, like weeks. I couldn't fall asleep at night. I get up in the morning, I tell my husband, like, there's no way. So I had prepared, you know, exactly bullet points, talking points. Here's why I need it. Here's why I'm going to go do it. And it's funny because Carlette was like, you just need to just ask for it. Just go for it. Like, you know, if it's a no, it's a no, and then adjust or whatever. So honestly, weeks leading up to this, and I have a meeting with my boss, and I ask for it, and within 30 seconds, like, okay. And I'm like, I just stressed myself out, had total anxiety about asking something that I knew was best for me and my well-being and my family. And it was a no-brainer. And the key to that, though, is going back to the data and saying, like, I can be productive as a leader and as a boss in this environment. So I'm very blessed to be able to do this. Like, I know that it doesn't work for everybody, but going back to, you know, learning how to get through this is, sometimes you just got to ask for it. The answer's not always going to be yes, but I stressed myself out about it to the point where it almost didn't feel good once he said yes. Like, that's ridiculous. This is a good thing. But no, I very much cherish this time. It's a great time to be here. None of us are getting any younger, so it's an opportunity to spend a ton of time with my family. It's a different perspective, cultural experience too for my daughter, who, you know, you're going from living in a huge, one of the you know, US's top 5 cities to one of the US's probably small 50 cities. So it's good immersion. Yeah. So it's good. It's good for all of us. Different life. But this is my season. This is my rest and recovery season right now. We're in it. So, and we talked about how hard it is to be in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you take you with you everywhere you go. So if you haven't done the work to really understand the power of rest and recovery, I don't care what fabulous holiday we put you on, you're going to bring your stresses, your anxiety, the way you're used to doing things with you. And that's when it's like, I need to, you know, rest from my holiday, or gosh, I wasted all that time. We so want to introduce a new way of doing it. Honor that you've set that time aside, be fully engaged, enjoy the new relationships. And Nicole, something that you bring up that I really want to just pay attention to is that if you give yourself permission to be inside the change from a creativity perspective, from a rest and recovery perspective, it's rejuvenating. You get better ideas. You think of different things versus keeping yourself in a very rigid environment that, you know, you don't have anxiety because you totally control it. Your brain can get pretty stale with that from a perspective of it's just somewhat, you know, living in that 6 or 7 zone versus embracing the challenge and the joy of going for a 10.
I love that. That is so true. That is just, I'm writing it down. That's so true. Just giving yourself that permission to go for it, and that creativity. I talked about this before. I haven't had a single good idea sitting here in front of a computer.
Yeah.
You know, like and it's true. You got to do those things for you. And anyway, amen. Agreed.
Well, and I know we're all living it. I mean, I've got a trip this weekend and all I can think about is, oh, I don't have time. I could stay home. I could work. I could work. We're always going to have our work. It's always going to be there. To
Yeah.
me, it's more of a challenge to honor the rest and recovery and tell myself, go enjoy it, unplug, have some fun, be fully engaged. Because the work is more of the ritual and routine. I get results out of it. I feel, structured with it.
Hmm.
So when we talk about this team, just know no matter where we are on our journey, I mean, I make a living coaching inside all of this, and I'm living it to give it in exactly the same way because it's a day to day challenge and training to really be our best self. And we're learning that day by day, experience by experience.
Yep. And just being able to give yourself permission to do that is the first and foremost thing. That 24 hours that you take off, or in your case, Carl, let's say 72 hours you're taking off, isn't going to make or break,
Yeah.
What's going to happen. So it's not living in that past or that future. It's living in the moment. That's a hard thing to learn and to practice, but it's so important.
Well, Nicole, back to communication, because we're talking about things
Mm,
that I would think anybody listening would be like, great, I'm going to ask for what I need. I'm going to take my holiday. I'm going to,
yeah.
not work on those particular times at 6 o'clock. I'm not going to check my phone. I'm going to take my watch off. I'm going to. So all of these are great winning strategies. What's very valuable and
Hmm.
respectful is setting up a routine for everybody that's affected by your change or by your actions so that they're set up for
Hmm.
success. It's not that us leaving means we pile everything on somebody else and ruin their well-being or make them anxious. It
Yep.
really is back
Yep.
to that preparation to make sure that we're very honoring of everybody that we're associated with or how our actions affect other people. So winning strategies on how you've learned to really honor that communication.
Don't assume anything is for me. And how I've honored it is, I'm on a different time zone than when I'm regularly working. So it's being clear and communicative. And I work with so many people that, hey, just because I'm on a different time zone, I still plan to be available. Here's when I kind of plan to check out. I'm telling you right now, I've learned a ton of this from my 10-year-old. She knows when we go to bed at night, Mom, what hours are you working tomorrow? So she, especially when we're on the summer vacation, I mean,
Right.
school year is different, right? That's totally different. But she knows that, and that's important for her.
Right.
So that's important for her to understand when can Mom be done so we can
Right.
go have our playtime or whatever it might be. My husband knows when my end dates are. My team knows that they can reach me. But you have to clearly communicate what it is that your intention is, and so that other people can honor
Yes.
your time and your rest and recovery. And that's the mistake I made last week on my holiday. Is I openly was like, I'll be available on Thursday from this time to this time. Well, what ended up happening is I didn't honor it the way I should have,
Right.
and I let other things creep in. So part of it's communicating, here's what I'm going to do, and just stick to it. Like,
Yeah.
don't, and I'm horrible at this, of letting other people in, especially with cell phones, right? Because you're no longer sitting in an office. People can text you in any hour of the day.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a lot better at that.
So really
Not fixed yet,
managing
though.
expectations, clear communication, saying, here's when I'll be working. Does that work for you? Making sure that this is a
Mm-hmm.
team effort. So it's not my way and no way. It's our way as a team. So, we've all got these projects to do. What do we need to do? How do we all want to work together? What time are you going to be on? What time can I be on? I mean, I love the power of team because different time zones are beautiful. I can pass to you and you're in a different time zone. You may get up earlier, you can do some work and pass to me. So just constantly thinking about the power of team inside our professional life, everybody that we work with, and in our personal life, our family, our partners, our friends, and philanthropically, our community, our world, how we interact in that me, we component is so powerful to
Mm-hmm.
really understand we're all connected.
So true. It's so true. And we all can do this together, right?
Yeah.
We as a society are a team, and we need to recognize and embrace that, right? So we can do this
Mhm.
together.
Go team. Yeah. And be for each other. That's the beautiful part. If I know that you're going on holiday, I want to be for you to enjoy every bit of it versus, asking
Hmm.
some questions or doing anything from that perspective. So, all new thinking to really embrace the gift that we got for this season of a reset and say what worked, what didn't work, how do I want to go forward being a champion for me, for my teams, for our world and our community.
Hmm. So true. I love it. So,
Okay, team. Well, it's up to you. Nicole and I have shared our desired outcome to give you hope based on just what's going on in our lives and the journey that we are on, finding joy for winning well-being. So it's up to you. Go out, be a champion for you, communicate clearly what you need before you, before the people around you, and most importantly, go out and find how you want to live your 10 life. Thank you, Nicole.
awesome. Thank you.